Hello, this is Ali, welcoming you to the 2209th edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline 17th of October 2019. The readers this week are Ali and John, with Peter on the controls. The editor was Phillip, and the production and distribution team is Keith, Lindsay and Jean. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prie, Fernand Bouillon, Harry Breuer, and performed by Jean-Jacques Perret, and is used with his kind permission. The local news stories that we will be reading come from the Enfield Independent and Enfield Dispatch and are their copyright. The lead story this week is Star is handed bill after trashing £1 million rented flat. Before the news, we have the sunrise and sunset times for the week beginning the 21st of October 2019, and they are sunrise at 7:34 and sunset at 17:55. Do get in touch with us to share your own news and special announcements. We love to hear from you. If you have any comments about the Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020 8805 6578. She is your listener's representative and will be pleased to help you. Now, John will read the first item of local news.
And as Ali said, it's Star is handed bill after trashing £1 million rented flat. A pop star and former X Factor judge has been forced to pay £70,000 over claims she trashed her rented apartment. Chilisa Kontostavlos, the 31-year-old former N-Dubs singer, has been ordered to pay £70,832 compensation over claims that she left her £1 million rented flat in a state which needed repairs costing £68,000. The three-bedroom penthouse in a building in Uplands Park Road, Enfield, which the landlord claimed he had left in tip-top condition before the rental, was left damaged with the fridge door ripped off, cigarette burns across the apartment, and a smashed bathroom sink. Andrew Charalambous, the landlord of the property, sued the pop star after finding the damage. At Central London County Court, Max Thorogood, the barrister for the landlord, claimed at the court that it was clear there were a lot of parties there. Mr. Thorogood said in July 2016 she returned it to him in what he alleges was an appalling, unlettable condition. It is absolutely clear from the nature of some of the items which are admitted, such as the stains and cigarette burns on the carpets, the sink in the bathroom being smashed, and the cigarette burns on the bath, that she did not look after this property as she should have done. Lawyers for the pop star said that she denied that the damages were anything more than normal wear and tear. On top of the £70,000 compensation, Miss Kontostavlos was ordered to pay interest as well as the costs of her legal battle, after a breakdown in communication with her legal team prevented them complying with a court order relating to evidence of damage. Judge David Saunders dismissed her challenge to a previous ruling which had struck out her defence due to non-compliance with earlier court orders. In a statement released after the ruling, Miss Kontostavlos said she would like to appeal against the ruling and claimed the judge prevented her from telling her side of the story.
Flagship project will deliver thousands of homes and jobs. Housing Minister visits Meridian Water. The government's housing minister paid a visit to Enfield Council's flagship regeneration scheme, Meridian Water. Esther McVeigh, MP, was given a tour of the Meridian 1 site in Edmonton, which will provide hundreds of new homes on former brownfield land on Thursday. That was October the 10th. Her visit came after the government agreed to invest £156 million to fund key infrastructure such as road and rail links at the site. Meridian 1, which is being delivered by construction firm Galliford Try, is the first phase of a 25-year project set to create 10,000 homes and 6,000 jobs in Enfield. Ms McVeigh told the local Democracy Reporting Service, "This is the government's vision of making sure we can build homes in places that need them, and affordable ones at that. Of somewhere that's connected with the right infrastructure, a brand new station that was opened earlier this year. and of really having a sense of place, of home and community, with infrastructure coming in first. So it's a well-coordinated vision in a place that needs more homes and housing. Enfield was the first London borough to win funding from the government's Housing Infrastructure Fund, HIF. Miss McVeigh said Enfield Council had oversight and vision and was partnering well with the government. Half of the homes in the Meridian 1 site will be classed as affordable, up from a minimum of 35% following talks between the council and Galliford Try. The overall number of homes on the site could also be increased from 725 to more than 900. Ms McVeigh said, "We are tenure blind, so we are supporting all kinds of house building, whether that's social, council, private, whether that's to rent or own. We've put £9 billion into the affordable housing, and what we have done with the council and social is to remove the debt that was there and raise the borrowing cap so councils could build going forward." She added, "Infrastructure investment is about levelling up to make sure all of the country can reach its potential. Lots of people here feel they could. They want to do more. And now this, the infrastructure, safe homes, great train stations and transport is about getting the best out of everybody." Council leader, Councillor Nezel Kaliskan, also toured the site alongside Miss McVeigh and Galliford Try's Managing Director of London Developments, Matthew Taylor. The Meridian Water Scheme suffered a series of setbacks after talks between Enfield Council and master developer Barratt Homes, then reserve developer PCPD, fell through. The council subsequently ditched plans to work with a single master developer and announced it would allow firms to bid for contracts for different phases of the project. Councillor Kaliskan said the award of the HIF money demonstrated a faith and confidence in the longevity of the Meridian Water Project. She added, "I think it is a vote of confidence in the council and its ability to drive the project forward and play the role of the master developer. All of the engagement has been about creating a place for the communities that absolutely need it. We're on track to deliver the first affordable homes by 2021. That's a remarkable journey. If there was ever an area and community that deserved a bit of investment, it is Edmonton." Mr. Taylor said proper collaboration with the London Borough and maximising the level of affordable homes was quite refreshing in terms of how we have worked together with the borough.
Violent crimes in the spotlight for TV. 2 Haringey cases shown in documentary. Police documented their investigations into notable violent crimes in a BBC documentary. 2 Haringey-related homicide cases were highlighted in the Thursday, October the 10th episode of the BBC One programme, which features the rising crime rate in 2018, and it's called The Met, Policing London. Camera crews followed frontline officers and detectives who investigated homicides, sexual offences and more for the series narrated by actor Lenny James, showing behind the scenes as detectives uncover information for various cases. The latest episode of the series features the investigations of the homicides of Kwabena Kobe Nelson, aged 22, in Tottenham, and Kelvin Odunui, aged 19, in Wood Green. Detective Superintendent Luke Marks, who features in the documentary, noted that the crime has not gone up within the areas of Enfield and Haringey. He said local police in Haringey are working to reduce violent crime in a local area. There is always a different option to not commit crime, but people who do choose to offend can expect the full force of the Metropolitan Police. While both cases remain open, the programme, which aired at 9 p.m, previewed an in-depth look to the cases. Anyone with information about either case are asked to call police on 020 8358 0200 or via 101. Information can also be passed on 100% anonymously to Crime Stoppers charity on 0800 555 111 or online at crimestoppers-uk.org. The episode is on BBC iPlayer, with new episodes of the series being broadcast on BBC One on Thursdays at 9 p.m.
Maximising every penny that is spent. Insourcing is the default option for council. Haringey Council is reversing a drive to hire private sector firms to provide services for residents. Top decision makers have agreed to change the council's policy so that insourcing, providing services using its own resources, is now the default option. The move is described as a significant shift away from the council's previous approach in a cabinet report. Like other local authorities, Haringey has contracted out many services over the past few decades, partly in a bid to save money following cuts in funding from central government. But a council report says this approach brings significant risks, highlighted by the high-profile failures of providers like Carillion and Interserve. The decision to insource services will support the council's community wealth-building agenda, which aims to ensure public sector spending benefits people in the borough. Haringey has already taken steps towards insourcing in areas such as children's services and facilities management. It says there will now be a review of all commissioned services when contracts come up for renewal. Council officers will also draw up a detailed plan for bringing services in-house, which is expected to be finished by March next year. The policy changes were agreed at a cabinet meeting on Tuesday, October the 8th. Council leader, Councillor Joseph Ejiofor, Labour, said, "Our commitment to insourcing is grounded in the belief that all public spending should first provide a public benefit and should seek to maximise every penny spent on delivery of the service itself."
Doctors struggle with mental health. 43-year-old took his own life, inquest hears. A doctor jumped to his death from a bridge while feeling unable to talk about his own mental health for fear of losing his job. Father of two, Dr. Miles Christie, aged 43, from Muswell Hill, felt he had let his family down before he climbed over the railings of a bridge and leapt onto a busy carriageway, according to the inquest. He died at the scene on the afternoon of May the 14th, despite paramedics' attempts to save his life. Dr. Christie was described to have a glistening future and worked at Burnley Medical Practice NHS Surgery in Willesden and at the private Knightsbridge Doctors' Surgery. He left behind his 40-year-old wife, Juliet Stern, and their two children, aged 3 and 5. Mrs. Stern, a producer with animation production company Passion Pictures, told the inquest at St Pancras Coroner's Court she had been married to her husband for 6 years. In a statement read to the hearing, she said, "He was a hugely charismatic, kind, positive and gentle soul. He was adventurous and had a genuine interest in life and in people. He had the ability to engage with people from all walks of life. It is very difficult to come to terms with how someone can unravel like this." The inquest heard that on the day of his death, Dr. Christie had planned to go swimming with his brother and had left his home with his swimwear in his pocket. He was later seen pacing up and down a bridge at around 3:30 p.m. wearing a blue T-shirt and jeans before jumping to his death. The inquest heard he had struggled with work-life balance and felt increasingly anxious about financial pressures. Coroner Mary Hassel concluded that Dr. Christie had taken his own life.
Walk-in services withdrawn. Emma Fridden from Healthwatch Enfield on how changes to out-of-hours GP access will affect residents. From the start of October, it is no longer possible to use GP surgeries in the borough without having a previously booked appointment. Evergreen Primary Care Centre in Edmonton Green, Eagle House Surgery in Baker Street, and Carlton House Surgery will no longer offer walk-in appointments during weekends and public holidays. Evening and weekend GP services will continue to operate, but access to the service will be via appointment only. You can get an appointment during evenings, weekends and public holidays by calling NHS 111. This change has been implemented in line with other neighbouring boroughs to ensure that everyone in North London has equal access to out-of-hours GP services. The move also means that usage of out-of-hours appointments will be monitored to ensure that people are using appointments appropriately. Some people who currently access evening and weekend services would be better served by seeing their own GP, a doctor that knows their medical history. Examples include medication reviews, repeat prescriptions, and fitness to work certificates. At Healthwatch Enfield, it is our job to represent local people's views, and we are asking Enfield Clinical Commissioning Group, responsible for delivering primary care services in the borough, about the impact of the withdrawal of walk-in appointments. We want to ensure that Enfield residents are getting the best possible access to out-of-hours health services. That's why we are keen to hear what you think about this change. Do you think it is a good or bad idea to close walk-in services? Let us know what you think by getting in touch with us using our contact details below. Finally, with winter getting closer, remember there are things you can do to protect yourself and those around you. Start keeping an eye out for information about flu jabs. And if you are eligible for a free flu jab, make sure you get yours booked in as soon as possible. And in order to contact Healthwatch Enfield, you need to visit healthwatchenfield.co.uk.
Parked cars are stopping bin rounds. Rubbish was left strewn across a street after black bin rounds were missed for 3 weeks. Neighbours in Newport Close, Enfield Lock, had to put up with the unhygienic conditions because cars parked at the entrance to the cul-de-sac stopped Enfield Council's waste wagons from getting through. But one resident, Sinazi Idemir, said the council could have come up with another way of ensuring bins were collected. Mr. Idemir said, we can't store rubbish bags in our houses, so we put them by the side of the road. Everyone has 10 to 15 bags now. A fox came in the night and made a mess. Now I can't let my son play in front of my house. Some people park their cars at the entrance, half on the pavement and half on the road. They leave their cars and walk to the train station. I've spoken to a few of them, but some of them are so rude. They say I can park my car where I want to. Maybe the waste lorry driver did not want to risk scratching the cars. Mr. Idemir said he had complained to the council every week, but had not received a response. He added that even though there were problems accessing the street, the council could have made alternative arrangements. He said the bin man could pull the wheelie bins out and collect them, or they could tell us to leave the bins at the end of the road. Something needs to be done, but the council just ignore it. An Enfield Council spokesperson said, we are aware there have been access issues that have prevented our waste collection trucks from entering the road. The cars blocking the entrance are parked legally, but we will be looking at the ways we can mitigate this issue. In the meantime, we have made arrangements for a smaller vehicle to complete the weekly refuse collection.
Top sewage. Deepham's sewage treatment works has been nominated for a national award. The Thames Water Plant in Pickett's Lock Lane has been shortlisted for a People's Choice Award, a global competition recognising the best civil engineering upgrades. Deepham's is the UK's 4th largest sewage works and treats waste from 1 million people. Its recent upgrade boosted capacity, improved water quality and reduced odour emissions. Martin Hoff from Thames Water said, we're delighted our engineering work has been recognised. Rebuilding and upgrading a live works couldn't have been achieved without the teamwork and collaboration developed and honed by our partners AECOM, Murphy and Kier.
And this is another Meridian Water item under the heading Workspace. Plans have been submitted for a major manufacturing hub. Building Blocks, a key partner of Enfield Council's Meridian Water redevelopment project, wants to convert a vehicle testing building into a manufacturing workshop space. It would have a capacity for more than 1,000 workers in engineering, computing, woodwork, metalwork and fashion. If built, workers would have access to more than £1 million worth of light industrial equipment, as well as new skills training facilities, waterside cafe, gardens, shop and an events space. Al Parra from Building Blocks said, our project will make affordable manufacturing workspace available in Enfield in a truly remarkable facility.
Doctors' shortage. Access to medical care could worsen as the area's population increases, residents have warned. At a Bowes Ward forum last month, one local man said, "There are fewer surgeries than we had before the flats were built. There are more flats being built round this part of the borough, and we don't have the facilities to cover it." Fazila Ahmed from Health Watch Enfield was quizzed about the doctors' shortage. She said the NHS was trying to recruit GPs from other countries and added, "More GPs are retiring and seem to be leaving at the same time. What is happening is there are no GPs to replace them." Bowes councillor Yasmin Brett said a planning application had been submitted for a doctor's surgery on land owned by Notting Hill Genesis, but it was currently being held up because Enfield Clinical Commissioning Group had not done their side of the deal.
From the designs, they just look like shared gravel paths. Shared space for pedestrians and cyclists, unsuitable for major development. A developer has been criticised for not including plans for separate cycle lanes on part of a major housing scheme. Councillors warned shared space for pedestrians and cyclists was unsuitable for a development that would include more than 3,000 cycle parking spaces. It came during a discussion of part of the Haringey Heartlands regeneration scheme in Knowle Park, a development that will create nearly 1,700 new homes. The Council's Planning Subcommittee met on Monday, October 11th, to discuss design and landscape aspects of 2 blocks of homes and surrounding spaces in Haringey Heartlands. Councillor Luke Corley-Harrison, Liberal Democrat, Crouch End, said, "I am struggling to see, with such massive amounts of cycle parking on this development, where the actual cycle lanes are. From the designs, they just look like shared gravel paths. As someone who regularly cuts through Alexandra Palace and has gravel cycle and pedestrian mixed-use paths, it's horrendous. Or are you expecting cyclists to go on the road? And therefore, will there be some spending on creating dedicated cycle lanes in the surrounding areas?" Committee Chairman, Councillor Vince Carroll, Labour, Tottenham Hale, said shared spaces were the worst idea ever. He said, "I do not think it works as a pedestrian. I do talk to cyclists and I don't think a single one will think it is acceptable." A spokesman for the applicant, property developer St William, said the firm would be giving the council £250,000 to improve walking and cycling infrastructure on surrounding roads. He said the scheme had been designed to minimise conflict between pedestrians and cyclists by designing it so that cyclists were discouraged from using certain routes. But Councillor Corley-Harrison called for segregated cycle lanes around the whole area. He said at the moment Turnpike Lane is incredibly dangerous. Whiteman Road is incredibly dangerous. Travelling over to Wood Green is pretty dangerous before this development happens. Emma Williamson, Haringey's Assistant Director of Planning, said the council wanted to move towards cycle lane segregation in the most part, but it would not be possible in all places. She added that work on surrounding areas of development was not as far advanced as on the Haringey Heartlands site. But Councillor Carroll said, "We need to be thinking about the future. We need to come up with some way to ensure members that we are going to drive some kind of cycle segregation." Councillor John Bevan, Labour, Northumberland Park, proposed a condition that the application have segregated cycle lanes on this part of the development to encourage the developer to include them on later parts of the scheme. The planning committee then passed the scheme
Plans
unanimously.
for a temporary school on the former site of Chase Farm Hospital have won permission from Enfield Council. The school, with space for 184 pupils, will be built in time for the start of the 2020 autumn term, in anticipation of a permanent primary and secondary school being built on the site for the 2021 academic year. The government, which submitted the plans, purchased 6.8 hectares of land in 2017 from the council and Royal Free Charity, and will still need to win permission for the proposed permanent school buildings. If approved, around 1,500 pupils are expected to be educated on the site.
Anger over Trent Park Festival damage. A long list of damage done to Trent Park during two major events this summer has been sent to Enfield Council. The Friends of Trent Country Park community group claimed significant harm was caused after tens of thousands of people attended the 51st State and Elro festivals there in August. The main entrance to the park in Cockfosters Road suffered the most obvious damage, with a large lorry carrying equipment having collided with one of the Grade 2 listed brick gate pillars, since surrounded with scaffolding, while a stone bollard was also smashed. On the exhibition table in the park, where the two events were staged, large patches of grass have died off after being covered and trampled, with tread marks and deep ruts visible. When the Dispatch visited the park 1 month after Elro Festival took place, confetti could still be found littering the area. Trent Park's famous Lime Tree Avenue is now also showing significant signs of disrepair to its road surface, and the Friends group says money received from this year's festivals should be used to restore it, as well as replace some of the ageing trees. The council has since pledged to plant 5 new trees. In a letter to the council, Friends of Trent Country Park chairperson Peter Gibbs said, "It would be reassuring to the many thousands of visitors to our park to know that Enfield's council is stepping up to the plate and heading off a situation which is becoming steadily more toxic." A council spokesperson said event organisers will be paying Enfield Council for the repairs. While we welcome large-scale events in Enfield, we have made it abundantly clear to organisers that our heritage and natural environment need to be respected, and we must be compensated for any damage. Our partners have so far been very cooperative. We have been liaising with Friends of Trent Country Park on our work to deal with the damage in a timely and efficient manner.
Top of the Cops. Meet the new head of Enfield and Haringey's police team. The newly appointed head of Enfield and Haringey Police is Detective Chief Superintendent Trina Fleming, who took over as commander of the Metropolitan Police's Basic Command Unit for the 2 boroughs this summer. I began my interview with Chief Superintendent Fleming by asking about one of the most pressing issues facing police in London today, and one which has certainly affected Enfield Borough: knife crime. A knife used in the wrong place is as dangerous as a firearm, she tells me, noting that intelligence-led stop and search, carried out ethically, has had a lot of success in removing zombie knives and other similar weapons. Likewise, she is full of praise for the work of the Violent Crime Task Force, which is a roving police unit whose help she often requests. In addition, she points to the work school officers do to inform children of the dangers, while neighbourhood officers lead weapon sweeps in known hotspots. Police cadets also do regular test purchase operations in conjunction with Enfield Council to target shopkeepers who sell to underage children. The ease with which youngsters can buy knives online is still a problem, however. How should those found carrying knives be dealt with? If a 25-year-old gets caught with a knife for the 2nd or 3rd time, or someone is carrying out knife-enabled robberies, then absolutely the courts must come down hard. But if it's a 16-year-old worried about their own personal safety, we need to enforce the law, but we also need to look at why they are not telling the police or a teacher about their fears. We need to adopt a trauma-informed approach as a longer-term strategy. As the recent merger of Enfield's police team with Haringey is nearing the end of its first full year of operation, I asked Detective Chief Superintendent Fleming if she was happy with the way it was going so far. "It's still a work in progress, but I have a very strong senior team," she says. "We were given a blueprint, and we can tweak it slightly whenever we find it could work better." The operations room, which was being overseen by a sergeant at the start of the merger, will soon be led by an inspector to release more sergeants back to the teams and facilitate that early decision-making. A safeguarding car is another crucial development to arise from the merger. It ensures that when an emergency response team is deployed to any kind of complex safeguarding incident, a police car with experienced officers goes with it. Once response officers have made arrests and protected the victims, then they hand straight over to the CID leaving the response team to go on to their next call. One of the big issues in Enfield at the moment is frequent speeding on the A10. The police recently launched Vision Zero to tackle this. Detective Chief Superintendent Fleming says getting into chases with speeding drivers is not the answer, and that working with partners such as Enfield Council is instead helping to dissuade drivers from congregating at retail parks at weekends. Our colleagues in road traffic also continue to carry out enforcement activity. In one day, this resulted in 96 speeding offences being detected, with the highest recorded speed being 72 miles per hour in a 40 miles per hour zone. We will continue to work towards a permanent and sustainable solution with partners to keep local residents safe. Finally, I ask about the expected increase in police officer numbers. Detective Chief Superintendent Fleming says the Met Police Commissioner and her team will decide where extra officers are deployed. It's about visibility, she says, knowing where the hotspots are and making sure our officers are out there patrolling.
Unsolved killing. A £20,000 reward has been offered for information that helps catch a killer. Detectives are investigating the fatal shooting of 54-year-old cafe owner Kaifa Aslan, found collapsed in Westminster Road near Bounces Road, Edmonton, at 9:10 p.m. on Wednesday the 23rd of August 2017. Two men in their 20s arrested on suspicion of murder were released without charge. Images have been released of an unidentified person seen at the time of the shooting and a vehicle used by the suspect, a grey Audi Q5 registered in 2015. The car, thought to have been stolen from Sussex, was found burnt out in Forty Hill 40 minutes after the murder. Detective Tony Kirk said, "If you have information or can assist in identifying the person in the image, please make the call. Help remove a dangerous, violent individual from the community. You can call police on 020 8345 3985 or 101. Alternatively, give information anonymously via Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111 or on the website crimestoppers-uk.org. The benefits of wild swimming. When temperatures hit a furnace-worthy 36.9 degrees Celsius in July, one Lido in London was literally mobbed by a crowd of 500 bikini-clad, goggle-toting people. Obviously, the hot and bothered siege at Brockwell Park prompted a call to the police and got the Lido shut down for a few hours. But rioting aside, you can sympathise with the would-be outdoor swimmers' intentions. They just wanted to be in some cold H2O on a sweltering day. And why limit yourself to chlorinated turquoise-tiled pools, however David Hockney-esque they might be, when there are natural places to take a dip instead? Or restrict yourself to swimming outdoors in summer? The health benefits are worth benefiting from whatever the season, and yes, that includes winter. When you plunge into cold water, it releases a flood of endorphins, and whatever mood you were in beforehand, you don't regret it, says Daniel Start, author of Wild Swimming. And that's Wild Things Publishing Limited, and £16.99. Being submerged in cold water makes you feel alive and elated. You're so in the moment, he adds, particularly if you're surrounded by nature and have a frog's eye view of the world. It's like a form of meditation. You feel very present. For those concerned about diving into icy water for the first time, Start explains that cold adaptation tends to kick in around your third cold water swim. This is when your body will begin to adjust and not feel quite so sensitive to the chill. As well as being a cheap, fun and easy way to stay fit, studies have found that people who swim in cold water throughout winter are half as likely to develop a cold, while it's also believed to be beneficial for those with mental health illnesses, MS, ME, anxiety and depression, amongst others. It's also a great way to reclaim your life, muses Start. Just swimming down a river, it's very achievable, but doing it gives you a huge sense of accomplishment. Combine that with the endorphin release and the exercise element, and you feel fantastic. Plus, nothing burns calories like swimming, especially swimming in cold water. If you're heading out on a wild swim, it's always a good idea to take someone with you. Dress appropriately for the water temperature, check the current and depth of the water, and have some warm, dry clothes on the shore. Wild swimming is fantastic fun, but it's always important to know your limits and build up your experience in the open water slowly. Tempted? These wilder swimming spots in the UK all offer a lush and health-boosting experience, and there's 5 of them. Number 1, Hampstead Heath Ponds, London. Leap into Hampstead Ponds, and it's hard not to feel as though you've dived straight into a Richard Curtis movie, or into the 80s. Open year-round, and visit cityoflondon.gov.uk and search bathing ponds for times and information. There's mixed, men's and ladies' pools to pick from. And ladies, you get hot showers. Second place, River Dart, Staverton, Devon. If distance swimming is your thing, this long stretch of water is a great place to practice your breaststroke while floating past weeping willows and the old steam train which runs adjacent to the river. According to the locals, the best entry point is down the footpath between the railway station and the old mill. 3. Kalepot Crag, Ullswater Lake District. This enormous lake is the perfect spot for blowing off the cobwebs during a long hike. Rugged Kalepot Crag is a particularly picturesque place to dip your toe in, a daredevil jumping spot surrounded by deep, crystal-clear waters. 4. Fairy Pools, Skye. Swim spots don't get more photogenic than Scotland's aptly titled Fairy Pools, which funnel the freshest water from the foot of the Cuillin Mountains into waterfalls that tumble into turquoise lagoons. Be warned, the waters are icy cold. And finally, number 5, Howth, County Dublin. Along the coastal path from this Irish fishing port is a popular spot for teens who want to launch themselves off the gnarly islet during the summer, but it presents a year-round opportunity to make a splash for confident open water swimmers. Wetsuits are advised in the winter.
4 stabbed in violent attacks. Met Police Commissioner says 4 stretched by Extinction Rebellion protests. 4 people were stabbed on the same day, and the incidents all happened in around the same area. Violence broke out at 9:35 a.m. on Sunday, October the 13th, at a butcher's shop in West Green Road, Tottenham, where 2 men aged 29 and 40 suffered knife injuries. A third man was assaulted in the fight at West Green Halal Meat and Groceries. At 10:18 p.m, a teenage boy was stabbed in a separate incident in Sycamore Gardens just under a mile away. And around half an hour later, in another incident, a man in his 20s was attacked with a knife in Herbert Road, less than half a mile away from Sycamore Gardens. All 4 stabbing victims were taken to hospital. Police have put a Section 60 order in place, allowing officers to search anyone in the local area until 1 p.m. on Monday. Elsewhere in southeast London, a 20-year-old man died in a stabbing in Bexley shortly before 3 p.m. on Sunday. He was the 70th person to be stabbed to death in London so far this year, and is among 115 victims of homicide. This comes after Metropolitan Police Commissioner Dame Cressida Dick warned that the force is being stretched by Extinction Rebellion protests, which are aiming to paralyse parts of London. Writing in the Evening Standard last week, she said local officers had been pulled off anything that is not urgent or critical to cope with the demonstrations. Frontline officers have been switched to 12-hour shift patterns to enable some to be moved off their normal duties. Dame Cressida said, "Our daily work is not easy. Inevitably, these protests make that work much more difficult." Prime Minister Boris Johnson will focus on the fight against violent crime in the Queen's speech on Monday. It includes legislation to keep serious criminals in prison for longer and impose tougher sentences on foreign offenders who return to the UK.
Motorcyclist, 34, dies in road crash. accident in Perth Road, Haringey. A motorcyclist has died after he was involved in a fatal crash with a car. Metropolitan Police were called to Perth Road, Haringey at 6:45 p.m. on Thursday, the 10th of October, following reports of a crash. The car was in an accident with a motorcycle near the junction with Paisley Road. London Ambulance Service and London Fire Brigade also attended the scene. Despite the efforts of the teams and members of the public, the male motorcyclist, aged 34, was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver of the car, who stopped at the scene, was taken to hospital. Her injuries are not life-threatening. No arrests have been made, and the driver is currently assisting police with their inquiries. As it is still an early stage into the investigation, officers are working to establish the full circumstances of the incident. Any witnesses or anyone with information is asked to call police on 101 or tweet at METCC and quote CAD 6674/10th
Larry's
October.
Classics for all the family. Actor adapts fairy tales for the digital age. Actor and author Larry Lamb is aiming to modernise reading this year by bringing classic fairy tales into the digital age. The EastEnders and I'm a Celebrity Get Me Out of Here star, who was born in Edmonton, will take readers into a web-based storyverse known as Once Upon a Time Online, where he will read stories such as Cinderella, Jack and the Beanstalk and Little Red Riding Hood. Speaking about the tales, Mr. Lamb said, "Fairy tales have always had a special place in the Lamb household, and with technology being such a big part in all our lives, it's been both challenging and good fun adapting the tales." The series, developed for children under 10, has been launched by PlusNet to show how technology is a good thing for parents and children's shared desire for family story time. Andy Baker, CEO of PlusNet, said, "At PlusNet, we're proud to care for our customers, so we wanted to create something really special for both adults and children to enjoy together. We know that children enjoy being read to, so by making the stories enjoyable for all the family, we hope to breathe some digital life into the fairy tales and change the way people think about screen time and story time. We can't wait to hear what families up and down the country think about what their favourite characters are up to in the digital age."
And I've got an item here about a pantomime, and it's that season again. It's at Milford Theatre's Cracking Panto Eggs Travaganda, and it can only be Mother Goose. So that's the Milford Theatre. It runs from Thursday the 28th of November 2019 to Saturday the 4th of January 2020. You can get onto the box office on 020 8807 6680. You can visit www.milfieldtheatre.co.uk. The theatre is in Silver Street, Edmonton, N18 1PJ. And it's very hard to read, but I think it says January sale £18.50.
Okay, so here are some events coming up. On Monday the 21st of October and Sunday the 27th at the Dugdale Centre, and on Friday the 25th and Saturday the 26th at Oasis Academy, Hadley, there will be a not-so-spooky Halloween event. So they will take place at 11 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. And it says, join the UK's #1 children's entertainment firm, Captain Fantastic, for this child-friendly show and fill your Halloween with fun, frolics, tricks and treats. Tickets are £10, and to get them you need to visit ticketsource.co.uk/CFHS. Then on the 26th of October, there's a party at the Gospel Temple. It's an anniversary event between 5 and 8 p.m. and at the Ponders End, URC, College Court, EN3 4EY. The Gospel Temple Apostolic Church will be celebrating its 29th anniversary, where there will be music, talks and food. And finally, a well-being showcase on Saturday the 2nd of November between 11 and 5 at the Dugdale Centre in Enfield. Learn from cutting-edge well-being providers, sample helpful therapies and indulge in a bit of retail therapy. Entry will be £5, which will be donated to charity. And for any more information for this, you need to visit wellbeingshowcase.com.
And more shenanigans at the Royal Gunpowder Mills in Waltham Abbey, and similar dates to the previous item. First of all, Dr. Gore's Spooky Mad Lab, 26th of October to the 1st of November, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Join us for Halloween mayhem at the Royal Gunpowder Mills, Waltham Abbey, as Dr. Gore gets down to spooky stuff in the Mad Lab science shows. Hands-on Mad Lab activities, Halloween crafts and trails, and a spooky room. All on top of museum exhibitions, the acclaimed Armoury and Rocket Vault, Wildlife Tower and guided tours of the site. Wildlife too, including lots of bats, although too busy sleeping away the day to be part of the spooky show. And for those needing a rest from spooky fun, there is a tiny autumnal brambly hedge room with stories to read, with Gunpowder Cafe and free parking. And then there's Guy Fawkes celebrations, 2nd and 3rd of November. Entry from 2 p.m, last entry 6 p.m. Show at 7 p.m. to celebrate Guy Fawkes on Saturday the 2nd or Sunday the 3rd in magnificent style from 2 p.m. onwards, with entertainments culminating in a fireworks display at the Royal Gunpowder Mills, Waltham Abbey. This historic setting was once the most important gunpowder factory leading the world from the 17th century. This is an exciting event during the day when the family can learn, in a fun way, about gunpowder used in fireworks and the famous plot to blow up the Parliament of Stuart King James I. Attractions include family fun activities for children of all ages, theatre productions, 17th century soldiers with muskets, period characters and science shows, plus funfair rides for children. Both days conclude in a spectacular fireworks display. Allow plenty of time for Guy Fawkes traffic, and if you live nearby, why not come on foot? Pre-booking is recommended. Tickets at the door may sell out. Check the website. It's www.royalgunpowdermills.com for tickets, show times, where to park, and updates to the programme. Enjoy.
Chamber of Symphonies. Two of the borough's most popular classical groups are teaming up for an autumn spectacular. Enfield Choral Society and Enfield Chamber Orchestra will be joining forces to present a major concert at which we will perform two of the most famous and stunning choral works ever written, Giacomo Puccini's Messa di Gloria and Gabriele Fauré's Requiem. When Puccini was 17, he walked from his hometown of Lucca to Pisa, some 25 miles there and back, to watch a performance of Verdi's Aida. It probably had a major influence on his decision to pursue a career in theatre rather than in church music. Nevertheless, as a graduation exercise when he was 18, Puccini composed his exciting and lyrical Messa di Gloria. It is unapologetically majestic and operatic in style, and was performed with great success in Lucca in 1880. Puccini then laid it aside as he concentrated on composing his big opera successes. Fortunately, in 1951, an Italian priest from New York bought a copy of Messa di Gloria while collecting biographical material on Puccini, and he arranged for it to be performed in Chicago in 1952, some 72 years after its premiere. From then on, it was recognized as a major, popular work and is widely performed throughout the world. Fauré's Requiem is a total contrast to Messa di Gloria, and also to some traditional versions of the Requiem, in that it removes dramatic, fiery judgment images and instead presents a poignant and serene mood throughout. Fauré himself commented on his desire to break away from convention. As to my Requiem, perhaps I have also instinctively sought to escape from what is thought right and proper. After all the years of accompanying burial services on the organ, I know it all by heart, I wanted to write something different. In this, Fauré was entirely successful, and his ethereally beautiful masterpiece is one of the most frequently performed choral works. Our November concert will be conducted by Enfield Chamber Orchestra's musical director, Mark Sproson, and apprentice musical director, Penelope Jane Homer, for whom it will be a farewell performance. The professional soloists joining us will be Paul Norcross-King, tenor, and James Cleverton, baritone. So please come along and enjoy these two stunning works at St Thomas's Church in Oakwood. I look forward to seeing you there. Now, this takes place on Saturday, the 2nd of November, in St Thomas's Church, which is 2 Sheringham Avenue, Oakwood. Tickets cost £12 in advance or £15 on the door, £5 for students aged under 25. For more information and to book, you need to call 07793 082 991 or visit enfieldchoralsociety.org.uk.
And I've got a rather different idea now from the one about plunging into cold water. This is entitled Back to Nature and something for the children. We all know fresh air is good for us, and even a short walk can lift our spirits, but according to the latest research, spending more time appreciating the natural world is a green prescription to good health. Here's how to get the kids involved in nature-based activities. 1. Stop by the park. Lob their wellies into the back of the car for a splash through the puddles to release any pent-up energy will do you and them the world of good. 2. Give the kids a plant. Taking care of a flowering bulb, watering and watching it grow, or starting a herb garden is really easy. 3. I spy with my little eye. A fun way to get the kids into the garden is to make a list of things you can see, whether it's something in the trees, a shiny garden tool, or a creepy crawly. It'll encourage them to explore. 4. Leave food out for hedgehogs. Homing in on hedgehogs is easier than you think. They love leaves, insects, and logs. Along with leaving out specialist hedgehog nibbles, which can be bought from a wildlife food suppliers, they're also happy with tinned dog food and crushed dog biscuits. 5. Introduce nature books. Stirring their imagination with pretty pictures of butterflies, exotic birds, ladybirds, squirrels, trees and flowers will make the kids that more interested in what's going on outside, and a great building block to identifying bird species and their squawks. 6. Sun, moon and stars. With the clocks going back this month and long dark nights, getting the kids to do some stargazing and thinking about the planets and the shape of the moon will make them more inquisitive to learn more. And 7. Feed the fish. While most of us aren't lucky enough to have a fish pond at the bottom of the garden, an aquarium or fish tank will bring stress-free pleasures to all the family. Easy on the eye and easy to maintain. Appreciating tropical fish and supporting natural plant growth in an underwater landscape can teach kids a lot too.
And now for some letters. Here's one from Crispin Truman, Chief Executive of CPRE, the Countryside Charity. We must not squander green belt for housing. CPRE, the Countryside Charity, has launched a new report this week, which was October the 14th, called Space to Breathe, a State of the Green Belt report, which highlights the importance of countryside near where we live and the need to enhance it for this and future generations. Green belts are the countryside next door for more than 30 million people. They give people in our cities and towns space to breathe and are vital for wildlife and communities to thrive. Escaping from urban life into the tranquil countryside improves our health, boosts our mood, and gives us pause to reflect on the world around us. The report highlights the shocking proposals for building more than 250,000 homes in the Greenbelt, most of which will be unaffordable. We must not squander this valuable asset at a time when it is needed for our own health and well-being and to address the climate emergency more than ever before. Other, better solutions to the housing crisis exist, including building homes on previously developed brownfield land.
And a letter here from Stefanos Ioannou, who is Southgate Councillor, Conservative. And he writes, Dear Enfield Dispatch, yes, there is a housing crisis, but this doesn't give a blank cheque for developers to concrete over our town centres. I have received hundreds of objections to the development of a 16-storey development in Southgate, and the concerns are consistent. Its height, parking, pressure on local services, and conflict with the character of the existing area. It's clear to me that existing residents aren't happy with the proposals laid out here. I agree. This development sits next to a major conservation area in our borough, and these towers would forever overshadow the Grade 2 listed tube station that sits proudly in Southgate Circus. I have made objections to this development. It sets a dangerous precedent for the future of planning here in Enfield. I am also wary of future applications, as developers may use this case as a blueprint to advance other developments in our area. This application for Southgate is make or break.
Here's a letter from Sean Wilkinson from Chase Side. Worry over white webs. Dear Enfield Dispatch, many users of White Webs Park are worried by the little publicised Enfield Council proposals to lease the golf course and 100+ acres of woodland to commercial developers over 25 years. Even with heavy investment and massive landscaping, it is unlikely White Webs golf course will be profitable, but it meets a niche in the golfing market, and even without normal club facilities, it comes close to covering its costs. The development needed is a good cafe with community facilities in Beggars Hollow. Planning restrictions have kept this service to a small mobile unit on the golf course. With good facilities for all park users, walkers, golfers, runners, riders, this would be an attractive business, paying enough rent to cover golf course deficits and park maintenance. Commercialisation brings real threats to the quality and integrity of the green belt. The golf course blends in well. It has a fine collection of trees and much wildlife. The mature woodland is a precious, unique piece of Enfield, which brings joy and health to those using it. Is this form of privatisation the future for all Enfield parks?
And I've got one here, Disgusted by State of Pond Endurance Park, and it's written by S.J. Mackenzie of Ambleside Crescent, Enfield. S.J. Mackenzie writes, I walk my dog in Durance Park daily, and am absolutely disgusted at the state of the pond. The water is so low the ducks now paddle, and when they find a deeper part and swim, they dredge up the silt. Enfield Council state that they are environmentally friendly, so how can they let this happen to the pond?
Here's another from Helen Price, manager of Enfield Voluntary Action. Big thanks. Dear Enfield Dispatch, we held a fabulous Enfield Volunteers celebration in September at Millfield Theatre. More than 100 local residents attended this event, made possible by funding granted by the Mayor of London to Volunteer Centre Enfield through the London-wide voluntary sector support organisation London Plus. Volunteer Centre Enfield, which is a service delivered through Enfield Voluntary Action, helps local people find volunteering opportunities that suit them within the hundreds of local volunteer-involving organisations. A delicious spread of food was put on, and everyone who registered to attend received a thank you certificate. The event was supported by Enfield Council and the Felix Project.
And Peter Gibbs, Chairman, Friends of Trent Park, writes under the heading, What does community get out of festivals? Your report on Trent Park, and that was Mega Events Cause Chaos in Park, Enfield Independent, October the 9th, illustrates well the torrid time we endured for much of the school summer holidays when our park was surrendered to commercial events. On August the 17th alone, Elrow flooded Cockfosters with 25,000 revellers for its drink and music extravaganza. Normal life was suspended, with transport disrupted and excruciating noise all day, audible over 1 mile away. The community suffered intolerable abuse, with drugs and antisocial behaviour well in evidence, and the park was ripped up, as any visitor can see. During the set-up, visitors faced 40-ton lorries in the park, one smashing our gate. Claims for huge local support are just Elrow talking its own book. It's not true. Where are the offsetting gains for the community? Enfield Council can point to nothing funded from events income, certainly not parks where budgets are well down. Even the tiny so-called environmental levies are diverted for purposes other than enhancing the park. Enfield Council's first duty is to protect the community and its assets. It is failing. Next summer, 85,000 revellers are planned for Cockfosters over 4 days, double this year's impact, enough to fill Wembley Stadium. How can the council assert these events are proportionate and sustainable? Such huge crowds are inherently unstable. Cockfosters and Trent Park have no capacity for stadium-sized gatherings. London has plenty of options. Meridian Water or a purpose-built arena. The council's refusal to moderate its policies is toxic. The wreck of our Grade 2 listed Cockfosters Park gate says it all. We ask, what if that event truck had hit a child? It's an abuse to treat residents this way. The council needs to think again. And there is one final letter from Romain Maharaj, Executive Director of UKTS. She writes, Dear Enfield Dispatch, thalassemia is a hereditary condition affecting the genes responsible for production of red blood cells. It mainly affects those coming from regions such as South America, the Caribbean, Northern and Central Africa, the Mediterranean, Middle East and Asia. However, because of migration over centuries, anyone can be at risk. In this country, women are typically offered screening after they become pregnant. But every year, 30 babies are born with thalassemia. All it takes is a blood test to find out if you carry the gene. So it is better to be informed now rather than find out later. UK Thalassemia Society, or UKTS for short, is holding a screening day on Saturday the 19th of October at our head office in the Broadway Southgate. All are welcome, so please come along and screen your genes. It is important for us all to know about thalassemia so we can prevent the spread of this serious blood disorder to future generations.
And now for some sport. Borough bounce back, winning feeling returns. A 2-1 success at home to London Tigers saw Enfield Borough return to winning ways in Division 1 of the Spartan South Midlands League. Sean Rees's side had lost their 2 previous games prior to this one, which included a 3-1 reverse at the hands of their opponents earlier in the month, but came out on top to go 5th in the league. Bobby Devine and Elliot Harris were on the score sheet for the hosts, while Jonathan Jose Oleas scored the visitors' only goal. Meanwhile, New Salamis were knocked out of the FA Vase at the first round stage after a heavy 6-1 defeat at home to Premier Division Amesbury Rovers. Scott Sinclair's goal ensured Rovers had a narrow lead at the break, but they came out firing in a rampant second period and hit further goals to damage Salamis through Jack Uttridge, Danny Draper, Craig Daniel, Jordan Gerald and Jordan Brown.
Town come out in top in 8-goal Cray thriller. It should say on top. Enfield Town came out on the right end of an 8-goal thriller away at Cray Wanderers, winning 5-3 in their Isthmian League Premier Division encounter. Mohamedou Fall and Ken Charles each scored a brace for the visitors, while Joe Payne's deflected effort added a 5th before 2 late Cray goals set the nerves jangling. It couldn't have been a better start for the visitors, as Payne floated a free kick into the Cray box that wasn't dealt with, and Fall poked out a leg to divert the ball over the line with a minute gone. Town were pegged back shortly after, though, when Joe Taylor was allowed to advance into the box from the left and fire in at the near post. Fall rescored the visitors' lead 5 minutes before half-time, chasing a through ball down the middle and slotting home. Enfield went straight on the offensive after the restart, and Charles grabbed the first of his pair in the 51st minute by burying Sam Hatton's knockdown. He swiftly added his second and put Enfield out of sight as debutant Bobson Balling pulled the ball back for Charles to blast home, and Town made it 5 when Payne's long-distance effort took a wicked deflection to wrong-foot the keeper. The home side made it a nervy finish when Tom Murphy's effort deflected past Nathan MacDonald and Jay Leader powered in a header to make it 5-3, but it proved to be too little too late, and Town saw it out to take all 3 points and preserve fourth place in the table. As the Enfield Independent was going to press, Town were preparing for their Middlesex County Cup fixture against Northwood, which took place on Thursday, the 17th of October.
Youthful Foundation. Graham Frost on how a local football club is helping young players achieve their goal. A local non-league football club, formed just 3 years ago, is providing talented young footballers with the chance to realise their dreams of turning professional. Enfield Borough was founded in 2016 by Marvin Walker and Aaron Archer. The pair had worked together at Brimsdown Football Club, but when that club was taken over, they decided to form their own. Marvin explained the idea behind launching a new club. He said, "We knew there was plenty of untapped talent locally, but also that the support network necessary to make football a full-time career was not always available. Young players are released by clubs at an early age and become disillusioned and turn their back on the sport. Others never get the opportunity. Many professional clubs prefer to buy the ready-made article rather than develop their own youngsters. We wanted to provide those who slipped through the net with an environment where they could flourish. But football is only part of the story." Marvin says, "Sport has always given people from disadvantaged backgrounds the chance to improve their lives. Youngsters get involved in antisocial behaviour because they have no positive outlet for their energies. Being part of a team or club in safe, positive surroundings can give the structure and consistency that may be missing from their lives. That's what we aim to provide. Through achieving something constructive, they increase their self-esteem and dispel some of the negativity that may surround them. It's about developing both the player and the person." Nicknamed the Panthers, Enfield Borough began life ground sharing with Enfield Town FC in Donkey Lane. But last year they moved to share instead with Wingate and Finchley FC just over the border in Barnet. In 3 seasons, Enfield Borough have gained 1 promotion, had 2 lengthy runs in the FA Vars, and reached 2 local cup semi-finals. The club now encompasses 4 youth teams and a veterans team. But the most impressive achievement is that 3 Enfield Borough players are now professional. In their first season, Ramoni Critchlow-Noble was signed by Huddersfield Town, and in the last year, Franklin Domi and Percy Kiangabeni have joined Queen's Park Rangers and Colchester United respectively. It's something that club co-founder Marvin took great pride in. "Football scouts were watching our matches from day one," he says. "The football is ostensibly a youth team playing in men's football. Our level of football enables young players to make the transition from playing within their own age group to playing against experienced players. It also gives the scouts a good insight as to how the players are likely to progress as they mature." Lee Valley Athletics Centre to host Special Olympics. More than 260 athletes with intellectual disabilities will take part in the Special Olympics Greater London Regional Indoor Athletics Competition at Lee Valley Athletics Centre on Sunday, November the 3rd. Special Olympics Great Britain is a non-profit organisation and the largest provider of year-round sports coaching and athletic competition for children and adults with intellectual disabilities. The Athletics Centre will provide the athletes a venue to compete in a mix of track and field events, all supported by Amateur Athletic Association officials, some of whom have officiated at Olympic and world events. Peter Palmer, Special Olympics Greater London coach and event organiser, said, "As with all Special Olympic competitions, the event not only offers athletes the opportunity to take part in competitive sport, it also offers our athletes a chance to succeed, show their capabilities, make family and friends proud, and socialise with the Special Olympic GB community."
And I've got a boxing special here, but unfortunately the end of it seems to have been cut off, but I'll read what I've got. Boxer Ryan Charles felt that his hard work paid off after he recorded a 7th straight victory of his professional career with a first-round technical knockout against Matthias Rybarski. The Edmonton heavyweight took to the ring at Bethnal Green's York Hall on Saturday against his Polish opponent, who was a stand-in for Steve Bodger, and increased his professional record to 7-0. Charles ended the contest by landing an uppercut that Rybarski was unable to recover from, and he felt that the preparation put in at the gym and in training was the biggest key to his success. He said, "I think it went really well. So many of the things that I'd been working on paid off. When we were studying Rybarski's tape, I knew that he'd been open to a body shot. I faked a jab upstairs and threw a body shot to the ribs, and after that I could tell that he didn't really want any more. From then on, about 30 seconds later, it was just an onslaught of constant punches. The final punch that put him away was an uppercut. He got up on unsteady legs, got to 8 on the count, and the ref looked at him and waved it off. I was very pleased, and it went well. Charles had been due to face Blackburn fighter Bodger, but a late pullout saw him go up against Poland's Rybarski instead. The late change in opponent didn't faze Charles, though, who insisted he would have been ready to fight anybody in the ring. He said, "In terms of myself, I still had the same mindset. It could have been anyone, but because I knew I'd trained so hard, I was just ready. If you had asked me before the fight, I thought I'd get a good few rounds out. After we got in the ring, there was a little trail off, and after the first full jab that I landed, I think I saw a bit of blood trickle down his nose. And then I knew, okay, yeah, I've got you here." Despite needing only one round to finish the job, this was billed as the first 6-round bout of Charles's professional career, and he is looking to maintain and possibly increase that number as he goes further up the ladder. He said, "The next fight will be 6 rounds. 6 rounds. I'll probably have maybe 2 or 3 more 6-rounders, then I'll look to move on to probably 8, or if I get a title shot, depending on which title it is, they're automatically 10 rounds. I know that that's my next fight, is probably going to be mid-December. Hopefully I'll get confirmation in the next week or so. But that's when." And then it just ends there. I don't know if it goes on. No, it doesn't. They've obviously edited it out by mistake.
We have reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team of Ali, John and Peter on the controls, it's cheerio. Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the memory stick into the packet in a closed position and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget, you can call Diane de Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with the Enfield Talking newspaper on 020 8805 6578. Coming up next, the latest news and information for the Greater London area from InfoSound. The Enfield Talking newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.